Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Land Pioneers podcast. Really excited to bring to you our next guest, Khurram Saeed from Resi Ventures. Welcome.
Thank you, Stan. It's very formal. I've known you about 20 years. This is the most formal we've been.
Yeah, this is probably the most formal chat that we've ever had in all that time. I was really excited to talk to Khurram because, whilst I've known him for 20 years, he's super impressive because of the way that he progressed from coming actually from different industry and achieving some incredible results within the land estate space. So just a little bit about Khurram. So he's an extremely accomplished entrepreneur with quite a diverse background, completed a bachelor's in information systems from University of Melbourne in 1999, and then further honed his entrepreneurial skills with a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation from Swinburne University in 2009. So when Khurram transitioned into real estate from his IT background back in 2002, initially, and this is how we sort of met, he specialized as a broadacre land specialist at the Redwood Group, and he gained some pretty good, I hope, hands-on experience in property development and land acquisition. Further on, he then co-founded Resi Ventures and has been the managing director since 2010. So at Resi Ventures, some of the projects that Khurram and his team have completed include Monument, a master planned estate with 500 plus lots in one of Melbourne's newest suburbs, Harvey Bay on the Fraser Coast, 168 lot subdivision, and McMahon's Place, which is the largest ever LDA by Resi Ventures. That's a land development agreement for a $284 million residential subdivision featuring about 1,000 lots in Victoria. So that's a little bit about Khurram, and we'll hear a lot more about him as we go along. But just briefly, a little bit about Eagle Vision and the sponsor for the Land Pioneers podcast. So at Eagle Vision, we're your trusted partners in property development, driven by a commitment to transparency, a straightforward process, and a deep passion for helping our clients create sustainable legacies that will endure for generations to come. So here are some of the 3 whys for a land developer to work with Eagle Vision and where we may be a good fit. So less is more, 24/7, and no surprises. Less is more, strategy and experience. So our background in property development, the strategy of effective 3D visuals is probably the most important component that we feel, and it takes priority over everything else. After nearly 700 projects completed in over 15 years of operation, we're pretty confident in what we create. 24/7 operation. So our team being based in Australia and Europe, we work on a 24-hour turnaround basis to increase pace for our clients and their projects. And finally, no surprises. We pride ourselves on transparency in operation. We've built systems and processes to involve our clients at every step. They get to see the inner workings of the machine and can track the progress of their projects internally. We're constantly thinking of new ideas and experimenting on these internally in order to ensure the best ROI for our clients. And one of the latest such developments has been interactive master plans for large-scale land communities. You can track and analyze buyer behavior and utilize data for informed decision-making, such as which lots are attracting the most interest. Experience the future today. Visit us at eaglevision.com.au and discover a world of possibilities. And now back to our guest. All right, so with our first sort of question, Khurram, just wanted to learn a little bit more about your journey and how you started. So what were some of your earliest steps and how did you get into land development?
All right, where do we start? So land development, I sort of made the jump into it when I was being 25 is when I actually joined you guys at Redwood Group. So that was 21 years ago. But even before that, so I came out of uni, Melbourne Uni. I did the IT degree, worked at IBM, but it was just always had a side hustle to wanted to do something. I guess when you come here as an immigrant with not much, I think you've got a chip on your shoulders to prove that you can be a success. So always had a side hustle, and sort of land and property was always there. I don't know if you remember, but there's a guy called what's his name? He used to do a lot of the courses where you went to. That was Henry Kay.
Oh, right. Oh, yes.
I reckon I did probably 2 or 3 of his courses. I mean, putting the guy aside, like what he was teaching made a lot of sense. And so even when I was at IBM, I purchased my first property. I would have been maybe 21, 22.
Wow.
And so that was all, but that was all a side hustle. So the income came from the IT job, and then I wanted to do that. And when I was 25, I thought I can't do both of these because literally I was working 7 days a week. So I'd do my 9 to 5 job at IBM, and then the weekend put the suit on, go to auctions. So I thought I got to pick one. I can't have both of my feet in two different boats. So yeah, I took the plunge. I guess at 25, you're young and dumb. you think you can, you'll be a millionaire overnight. The thing was I didn't have any money at that point. Other than that one property, sold that, cashed out of that, and I basically said, I've got probably a runway of 9 to 12 months up my sleeve. Where do I start? No one in my family had done this before. I didn't have any mentors at the time, and luckily I met you at one of these courses that we were doing, and yeah, you introduced me to Redwood Group, which made sense because I didn't have money, but I wanted to be literally in the middle of what made a land developer tick. So yeah, we did that with you guys for about 2.5 years of just literally door knocking all over Melbourne. I reckon I did probably bought more titles in a year that I could afford, but yeah, just literally door knocked all over Melbourne. I had a database of maybe 300-400 landowners across the board. So yeah, door knock on a Saturday, Sunday, whenever, and then list the property and then take it to a Stockland or a Sunderland back then, or Australand, just to I remember even going into A.B. Jennings and Stockies and just saying, just tell me where you want to buy it. I'll go door knock. I'll find the property, sell it to you guys. Obviously, that's you make a commission that way. Did that for 2.5 years with you and Frankie and Darren, I think what was that, and learned pretty quickly. No one wants to pay the middle guy. Like you do all this bloody hard work. I remember one of our first projects that we listed was Greenvale. And so I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning because a few of the developers was coming down from WA to see it. I'm showing the land and everything, yeah, all done. And then once the deal's done, the landowner goes, I'm not going to pay you. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you're not going to pay me? We're an authority. He goes, yes, sue me. Like, and I'm like that time, like 25, 26, not a dollar to my name. And by that time, I think it took me 9 months to make that first sale. And then the guy doesn't want to pay you. And it's like, oh, there's got to be a better way. So I think just, hey, over the years, sort of, I guess I've climbed that ladder to say from a real estate agent to really understanding what the buyer wants, what the seller wants, and really hitting the road with just doing my own sort of research. And yeah, from there, ran a funds management business for 4 years, and that sort of had to move away from that because they wanted to do aged care and apartments and everything else. But where my love has always been land, and so I told them back in would have been 2008 to say, no, this is not for me. I love property, but not all property. Not all properties made equal. I just want to stick to what I know, which is land, and that's where 2010 started Resi Ventures with Anthony.
Yeah, look, I think I just want to highlight a couple of things. So number one, it's the naive exuberance.
Yes.
It's just diving headfirst, making sure that you just learn as much as possible from everybody that's there. And the second one is actually quite interesting because you kind of started just after the GFC. So
yeah, Resi Ventures started then, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you actually find doing that?
I mean, to be honest, at that time, you're not really thinking of all these other external world issues that are going on. And I don't even remember, but we had Kevin Rudd at that time, and we really, like, Australia was pretty okay in the GFC. Like 2008, US got hit hard. At that point, we had bought some land at a Craigieburn. I'd already purchased one 30-acre parcel at a Beveridge. And we were sort of developing. One was a rezone, one was a development. This is before started Resi Ventures. But I'd known Anthony for probably 3-4 years prior to 2010, and he retired. He sold his last company in 2010, and I tapped him on the shoulder. And at that point, like, we weren't thinking, should we or should we not be starting because there's GFC? Because we're really, in Australia, we weren't really feeling the hit. And it wasn't until 2012 where we actually got hit. And I remember our first project at Resi, we were doing Greenwell orchards in Greenwell. It's weird how the circle completes, isn't it? One of the first properties I sold was at Greenwell, and literally we bought, I think would have been 20-odd acres opposite, which became Greenwell orchards. And man, Stan, we could not give the land away. Like, it was hard. Like, I remember, so it would have been 2012. So we bought it in 2010. We were getting permits. We were landlocked by Australand. They hadn't sort of done what they needed to do, and we couldn't give away the land. Like, we had to slash the prices. And we were talking 200, 220 for land in Greenwell back then. I think they're sitting at 480, 500 now. It's just, I think one key lesson learned there was you need to be able to afford to hold on. Like, you need to. You can't rely on others, because one of the mistakes we made was we bought it from the landowner. We had to settle it, so we had this massive debt sort of ticking over, but we had no services. So the services were controlled by Australand. So key learning was control your own destiny. Don't wait for others, and that's what we do. I guess they're the learnings you get from one small project, and then when you do a 500 lotter or a 1,000 lotter, you hopefully you've learned. You've learned your lessons.
Mistakes early on the piece on smaller projects.
Yeah, on smaller ones. Exactly right. That took, and I guess Anthony has been, I guess, like an elder brother and a mentor to me in the business and outside the business as well. Like, he's built successful businesses all his life. He's a serial entrepreneur, and so we just wanted to sort of work it slowly. We grew organically. We finished one project. Then we did another in Gisborne. Then that finished. We piled the money into Accolade, and as we did the 500 lots, and now we've got nine projects spanning Victoria and Queensland with 3,000 lots. I think GRV of about just under $1 billion, and I still got to pinch myself as an immigrant kid coming here, living in housing commercial flats, to be doing what I do. I mean, it's just Australian dreaming. Like, it's just, you work hard.
It's a pretty incredible journey. Do you think you coming here with not a lot, how did that shape you? Because you come from quite a serious sort of academic background, from what I understand.
Yeah, so we migrated here in '89. I was 11 years old. My younger brothers were 4. My youngest brother was born here, and my dad was a doctor. But they wouldn't let him sit the exam for the first 5 years. So, as I said, no one in my family has ever done property or even being an entrepreneur. They've either been doctors or in the army or just sort of 9-to-5 safe job. And I think growing up in the commission flats for a good sort of 7-8 years, so I did all my high school there. I went to Melbourne Uni, so I was still in Carlton at the time. I think it definitely puts a chip on your shoulder. Definitely, the work ethic you get as an immigrant is, I think it's hard to explain. You just have that, I don't know how to explain it, but you've got that internal fear that you may lose it all, and therefore you just got to work your ass off. It's just 7 days non-stop. Even IBM days, I think just the old saying, going the extra mile. I think we us immigrants, we definitely go the extra mile. Like, that's just given. It's just, how do you go the extra mile is how you do it. Like, I remember at IBM, I had a side hustle. So I was doing IT 9 to 5. That I started an IT company with a good mate of mine, Uppy. He'd gone back to Bangkok, but because I'd done IT, we were building this software from India of all places. So I used to do my IT work, come home at 8 p.m. It'll be 8 minus 6. It'll be like middle of the day in India. And so till from 8 p.m. I'd have a quick dinner to 2 a.m. in the morning. I'd be talking to these guys, building a software of all things, and then sleep, repeat. And then on the weekend, I'd be doing property. So it's just, as I said, I think that work ethic sort of comes hand in hand. And I don't think I'm unique in that. You listen to the Greeks, the Italians, the Jewish population, any immigrant who's come here with nothing has the same work.
There's a bit of fire there that you just can't put out.
That's it. I think that's right. And you see your parents, the sacrifices they make, and then you see you're standing on the shoulders of the giants that they are, or your uncle or whoever sort of migrated here. For me, it was my uncle who migrated here in 1972. So, and since then, we've got a massive family here. But it's their sacrifice. So I think when you see your dad working as a doctor, he's working in 7-Eleven, or he's driving a taxi, or he's putting his security jacket on because he's got the night shift. At the time, I think when you're 13, 14, 15, you don't realize it. I think you just think, why can't I have the nice things? And I want to buy Reeboks or Nikes as well. But when you get older, you have kids, then you realize that the sacrifices they've made is just, we're nothing. We're nothing without them. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So let's circle back now to Resi Ventures and talk a bit about your current venture. So you've got a bit of a tagline, bringing land to life. So what do you mean by that?
That's a good question. So bringing land to life, in my mind, is basically taking raw piece of dirt, let's say 30, 40, 100 acres, whatever it is, vision boarding it with the best team that we can get. And that's what I get up for, right? That's those new deals where there's nothing on the ground, and your vision is creating something for the future. So that, and then seeing, I guess, in my vision, like, or third eye, what I want to see on a vision board for any development is me, Anthony, or it's me and my kids, like 10, 15, 20 years down the track. I want to be able to drive down Monument or Accolade and just be proud of what I've created. So I think bringing land to life for me means creating a community where people love coming home to, where they want to belong to a community like a Monument or Accolade. So I always say, I want the community that lives there to say they live at Monument or they live at Accolade rather than the actual suburb. And so if that's my end goal, what do I need to do? So I think that starts literally when we buy the land, when we sit down with our urban planners, our landscape architects, to say we'll go above and beyond when it comes time to landscaping the front yards or building a park that's the rest hasn't seen, like we've done at Monument. So if you know your end goal, then you can see, okay, this is what I want to do to create it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's in my head. That's what I mean. Bringing land to life is creating a community that people love coming home to.
Yeah, and seems to me like an absolute clarity in the vision of what it's going to look like when everything is completed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I'm jumping all over the place, but that's where I think you played a key part with us, both with Accolade, Monument. Because us land developers, we can't showcase beautiful sort of 60-story buildings that stay there. Like everything we do is under the ground. Like it's just you might have 100 acres, 1,000 lots, but everything's under the ground, like the sewer, the drainage. So it's really what can we do in terms of the amenity for the community, whether it's the parkland, so like Accolade Monument, we came to you to say, okay, could you, because I can vision it, like I can see it in my eye, but the people who are coming in, like they can't see what's in my head, right? So we need to translate that into the 3D renders that you guys have done for us for a number of years now, whether it's parkland so it's that I think is absolute key, because they need to believe. Yeah, you need to showcase your vision to them, and because like as land developers, I think it's like somebody is trusting you with a lot of money. Like it's not, you're not buying an iPad or iPod for $1,000. You're spending $300,000-$400,000 on a land, and they're going to spend just as much on a house. It's the biggest asset they're going to afford. It's the biggest purchase they're going to make, and it's just so we feel, at least at Resi, we feel there's a massive responsibility on our shoulders to make sure that end product that we produce is just ticks the boxes, and they're just we smash the expectations sort of out of the way, and that starts at the vision. It starts starts with you guys as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, and we can go in a whole range of ways from here, but maybe let's talk a little bit about Monument, because with Monument specifically, you had a very particular color that you went for to highlight across the entire estate. What was the thinking about that?
Oh, wow. I think Alyssa could probably, our marketing manager would probably be able to answer. No. But, so that would have been 2017 when we sort of first were vision boarding it. So that was a land development agreement with 3 different landowners. And so at the time, so Plumpton, where Monument is, it really hadn't seen that sort of high-end estate yet. Like where we were, like if you drew a 3-kilometre circle, there might have been 10 other developers trying to develop. So number one, we wanted to stand out. And so that's where there's actually a Monument colour that sort of, if you go to the sales office, that sales office has got the same colour, the red with the band. So that stands out as well. And so we wanted it to be high end. We wanted it to, so Ivy Street, who did a lot of that for us. We went through, myself and Anthony, probably half a dozen different sort of color and palettes, and then we said, it almost doesn't matter what me and AB think. Is the end purchaser was going to be in their sort of 30 to 38 years old, like it was a second, third home buyer market. What are they going to think? So we just asked a few people, and the Monument colors popped for them, and I think the key was it rose above everything else. And I think our tagline, if I'm not mistaken, it was Monument Rise Above. So it's all coming back.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And you were competing against some pretty serious sort of larger players in and around. So for those people outside of Victoria, Plumpton, how far away are you from the city and so forth?
Yeah, it says Plumpton is about 22, 25K. So, and it was literally when we got involved, it was in the middle of nowhere. So it's I still remember when we first took the property so we got a permit. We went to Melbourne Water and Greater Western Water to say, beautiful, we've got 500 lots, guys. We need servicing. And then literally the first meeting, they laughed us out of this. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere. Like so Caroline Spring was like 3K one way, and Peng Hing Wong and his massive estate was probably another 3K in sort of Rockbank area. Taylor's Road wasn't made. So yeah, so it was at that point was in the middle of nowhere, but we could see like it won't be too long before it all got developed, and literally then we would be in the middle of everything, which we are now. Which, like, if you go Taylor's Road from Leachroy, you want one end, you're in the middle of something. From the other end, from Caroline Springs, once again, we're literally at the corner of Plumpton, and I guess that comes from walking the site in 2017 and sort of seeing that, which I don't. Yeah.
You're predicting the future.
Yeah, exactly. You almost need to. I think us land developers, you almost need to be glass half full, because I think otherwise you'd go mad if you listen to all the naysayers to say, that's right, because I remember Melbourne Water said, we'll service your land. So this was back in 2017. We'll service your land in 2028. Like, that's where we'll bring the sewer and the water. And I looked at the guys from BW who were our engineers. I said, what we basically, we just pushed through. So the next meeting we had, we designed it all. We're going to bring sewer and water, like I think it's 3.5K at the cost of $6.5 million. But because we had 500 lots, we could afford to do that. At that point, we were the pioneers, and no one really wanted to sort of jump on ship to say, no, you do it. we'll come on later. And I think we were naive in a sense to say, not naive, but we owed it to the land owners that we'd done the land development agreement with, to say we'll do the heavy lifting up front. And I think the key lesson learned there was, don't take no for an answer. Like, if the authorities tell you it can't be done, I think all they're saying is it can't be done this way. We just got to find another way. Find a different way. I think that's the old days saying. I think it was Robbins or whoever came up, like, you got to go through it, across it, over it, under it, whichever. Whatever it takes. So I think that's where having the right A team around you, it makes a huge difference. So So at that time, 2017, literally it was just me and Anthony. Like we just didn't have, there was no staff. We had the A team around us in Beverly Williams, and we had the landscape architects and the engineers. And my thing to them was, we can't wait till 2028. Clearly, we need this now, and that's what we did. We found a different way through it. And then they told us, no, you can't do it. You got to go to 15 different properties to do your sewer. They'll never give you access. And we just said, just one step at a time, guys. Let's. Do you like the design? They ticked off the design. Then we start talking to the different landowners. And out of 16, I think one gave us a hard time, and we just went around him because he pretty much, I think, short of bringing a shotgun to the table, he just said, "Oh, my dead body. Yeah, you're not coming through my land." And that was interesting.
I bet. And so you've talked about all the challenges that you've had to overcome with that project. What were the actual results as you started marketing the project? You got the vision, you got everything together. How did it all go?
Yeah, but Monument and Accolade were pretty much done at the same time. So Accolade was a sister, project at the time. So they both launched sort of 2017, 2018, both 500 lots, both with a magnificent sort of wetland, doing it at the same. And at the time, Rockbank did amazingly well. And to be honest, Monument...
So Rockbank is next to Plumpton?
So exactly. So Rockbank is probably 5K from Plumpton. So Plumpton is Monument and Accolade is Rockbank. And Rockbank did amazingly well because we were good sort of 40, 50,000 under the Monument estate. But in my mind, even at the time, I guess in the purchaser's mind, it had better connectivity to Rockbank Station. Like they just spent $9 million on that. You could get on and off the Western Highway. So I think, and the fact that you were in Rockbank, which isn't as premier as Plumpton, we were sort of priced at 40, 50 under. And so Monuments was a struggler to start with because we had the prices were there, but the Rockbank were here. And I think in sort of 2017, 2018, people still needed to see the vision. Like we were saying this is what we're going to be, and guys, you're going to be in the middle of everything by the end of it. You're not in the middle of 10,000 lots where it's a complete construction for the next 10 years. You're 500 lots. It's big enough for us to produce amazing amenity for you, but it's not so big that you're in a constant construction. So, but I think it took time for them to see that vision. So it definitely didn't take off like Rockbank took off. Like Rockbank, we had people sleeping over there. Like it was November 2017, 2018, where we had 30 families sleep over because they wanted to get into that first two stages. Plumpton didn't have, Monument didn't have that because the price difference and whatnot. And then but it just got it. Once they could see, once we got the first two stages underway, I think that's where they started to believe. Because I guess for a normal punter who was buying the sort of maybe second, third home, you can tell them, but until they see it on the ground, right? Until they see, okay, they've got their permits. Okay, they've actually started construction. They've started the construction on the sewer that's 3 kilometres away that we thought would never get done. So I think it had their challenges, but I think you walk Monument down the streets of Monument now. I think the sense of pride me and Anthony have and our team have, it's double and triple because of the fact that it's so hard in the making. But when we opened the Monument Park, would have been, I think, October, November last year. It was just, I don't know, it just brought it, like somebody had to pinch me, like, holy shit, like we've done, like literally we had this vision. I still remember the 3D render that you've done for the park, for the wetland. It just, I told Alyssa, our marketing manager, to put it side by side, and I kid you not, it just, I don't know, just something on my vision board from like, what is it, 2017 to 26 years in the making. It just makes it feel really special. And I think as a land developer, like nothing beats that. Like nothing beats kids coming up to you or to your team or parents to say, we love living. You're like, who does that? It's just because we went above and beyond in building the park and yeah. So I could
there are a few land estates that we've dealt with that, in our experience, have placed so much energy and investment in those sort of wetlands and branding and identity. It was, quite special to be involved with that project. Right.
Really.
So let's talk now that we started about some of your marketing stuff. So how do you guys handle your marketing for your future projects? You mentioned you've got Echuca and some of the other ones and Queensland. Have you got an in-house team? Do you outsource it? How do you do it these days?
Good question. So when we started the company, just myself and Anthony, and therefore everything was outsourced. And as we grew, we brought on marketing manager Alyssa Hayes. So she's in-house, and she's brilliant. Like me and Anthony, we can talk the talk, but like she can literally walk the walk in terms of all the stuff. But we don't do the branding in-house still. So everything is still outsourced. And so I guess the way we look at it is every project needs to stand on its own. So the amount of research we do, whether it's Warragul, Echuca, so it literally starts at, all right, who's your target market? I mean, this is nothing new, I'm telling you. It's who's the target market? And Alyssa really gets involved in that. And then we'll choose an advertising and a branding company to partner with. And they'll pitch ideas. They'll do their own research. They'll go look at the land. And they'll visit the local farmers or the farmers market, or if we're in Ballarat, what's happening at there, and then they'll sort of collate all that, and we'll do a vision boarding exercise out of that, and we'll pick something that we as a team think that really resonates with the local, like McMahon's Place, perfect example. That's land, that's 1,000 lots, land owned by the McMahon family for I think 40 plus years. So all of a sudden, like it was just tagline. Yeah, exactly. The tagline Mick or somebody, one of the McMahons came up with was from our family to yours. So all of a sudden, okay, perfect. So it's just when you're around the table, like you vision boarding and someone. So we had the McMahon family there as well, and so that idea stuck. And then so McMahon's Place and the sparrow, like the bird, sort of making a nest for itself. Yeah, it's just. Then you let the marketing geniuses do what they do, and then the branding, everything comes out of that, and then the website, and so the key is each project needs to stand on itself. Like you'll see if you go to McMahon's Place or Accolade, like Resi Ventures is hardly there. Like people probably care. I don't know if they do or don't care if it's a Resi Venture project, but they want to know what they're buying into and. Yeah, and then therefore the project needs to stand on its own.
And so some of the names that you've come up with, is there a central theme of sorts, like Accolade? It's obviously quite grand, and Monument, again, it's quite grand. McMahon's Place sort of is more paying homage to the family. Have you tried to carry across anything like that?
To be honest, not really, because otherwise you try to sort of fit around in a square hole, because you'd say, we want something to flow through which says it's Resi Venture sort of thing. But really, the project needs to sort of speak its own language. It needs to speak to locals. It needs to be. I mean, marketing 101 is it needs to be elevated in the eyes of the purchaser, so they come to us and not next door neighbour, right? It's horses and courses. Yeah, I mean, Sunbury is another perfect example, which is a land development agreement we've done with two landowners, and one of the landowners, Peter Watson, and the Watson's family migrated here, I think, from Scotland like years and years ago, and so his great uncle owned like thousands of acres in Sunbury, and so there's a street called Watson Street named after it. So once again, it's that. So once I think you put all that in the mix, good ideas come out of that, and then out of that came out Watson's Reach. So it's just at the cusp of Sunbury, so it's just within reach. Watson's family. Yeah, so it's. As I said, none of this comes out of my head. Like this is literally much smarter people than me. That they sort of brand all this for us.
Absolutely. And so do you think, maybe what are the actual lessons that large-scale land developers need to learn from these kind of experiences when marketing projects?
Yeah, good question. So it's, I guess, as I said before, because they're land developers, there's not much that people can see, right? Because everything literally is underground, and you'll do a park and wetlands, and then you'll have amenities, and that's part of the reason we do sort of 500 lots or plus, or in that range, because then you can produce those amenities. It's really part. Your A team is crucial, right? So it's your landscape architect, your branding and vision boarding people, and then people like yourself or the company like yourself. Because it's all well and good to have it on a on a 2D piece of paper, but you really need to, like, if my tagline is bringing land to life, I need to have that 3D renders that you guys do for us all the time, the videos that you guys do. You really need to translate that into something that the average person who's going to be buying there and be part of the community, because that person needs to see, okay, do I want to be part of this community? Like, what does it talk to my sense of a community, and that's everything what you do sort of comes at the forefront for us, because and then what we also do is if it's a large enough community like Accolade Monument or McMahon's Place, there's a sales office that we do, like a really, really high-end sales office. So if you do go to Accolade Monument, we built those from scratch. Once we knew what the branding was going to be, and so because that's the first thing the person who comes in to potentially purchase a block sees. So right, so that houses the 3D render that you've done. That houses the whole journey to say, oh, who is Resi Ventures? Oh, they've done a few projects. So it just gives them comfort that we're going to be around, we're going to deliver, and then they want to be part of that community that they want to call home for years.
Been there hopefully for at least 10 to 15 years. Or maybe
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, maybe more. And I think you can do all that, and then you can see, okay, have you succeeded? Because I'm a big believer, you can set yourself goals, but you got to reiterate and you see, okay, have I done what I said I would do? And how do I see that I've succeeded? And that's where you walk down the street and people are looking after their front yard, or the park that you built is full, or the wetland exercises. So the exercise machines around the wetland, they're being used by the grandparents. Like, it's literally a car, perfect. Like, this is exactly what we wanted. And so the community sort of taken that on board. And Monument was a perfect example where the community was already living there. So I think we would have had maybe 1,100 people living at Monument at the time we built the park. So Alyssa went out to all the communities, said, oh, what do you want to see in your park? So it's like, we're going to spend the capital anyways, but we might as well give you something that you want. So we saw things like the grandparents are living with their kids a lot longer now. So you almost needed something for them, and the kids were living longer with their parents. So hence the houses were getting bigger and bigger, and there were more people. So you needed to produce something where a toddler, or like whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old, like you could use. So I think that, yeah, I don't know what the question was, but I've gone on a rant.
There are a lot of lessons in there, absolutely. Yeah. Look, let's switch up gears a little bit and talk about the current situation. So what is your feeling like about 2024, supply, demand? The government's made some comments about how many lots they'd like to see, or how many houses they'd like to see built in a year, that kind of stuff. What is your general feeling?
I think overall macro, we're definitely getting, the industry is definitely getting better in a sense from a supply demand point of view, but there's still a long way to go. Like 2023, just to give you an example, was basically a shocking year for land developers, because in Victoria, hardly anyone was purchasing. There'd just been, so mid 22 onwards, it's just been literally in the holding pattern for sort of good 18, 24 months. Like the sales, if you talk to us or any land developer, it just literally fell off the cliff. So a lot of people bought in sort of 2021, 22 early, and I think it was Feb 22 where it was sort of peak of the market. And then since then, it's just been hard work. from a demand point of view, it's just been hard work. And supply, ever since COVID and people coming back, I think the productivity just hasn't been the same. So it's just taking longer. It just feels, I don't know, me and Anthony sort of every time we talk about strategically, it just feels you're doing 2, 3, 4 times the work to get to the same outcome. We're doing sort of PCG quarterly reports, and the feasibility just keep getting worse because your top line's sort of on hold, and then the costs just keep creeping up, both holding costs as well as just cost to construct. Like what we did. But I guess I'm always glass half full sort of person. So if I look at the supply side and the demand side, look at the demand side first. Like we've had some amazing growth in net overseas population, right? So if you look at 2021, that was the first dip in the first, I think, 30 years we had a dip in Victoria. But from 2022 onwards, we had about 170,000 people move into Australia. And then out of that, roughly, let's say about 40% move into Victoria. So we had that 170, and then we had a massive 620,000 last year. That was huge. I mean, if you look at the graph, it just looks unreal, like a hockey stick. A lot, let's say even half of those are students, and usually overseas students who are not going to buy. Still, that leaves you sort of 300,000 people who have migrated here. And so the rough rule of thumb is it takes 18 to 24 months for a new migrant to save up, see where they want to send the kids to school, and for them to purchase. And then 70% of the time they purchase in the growth corridors where we are. So I think the demand side, I just feel there's once there's a bit of stability in the interest rate market, they don't even have to come down. I don't think. Once they stabilize, we will see the people who had moved in 2022, 23, they'll start purchasing in 24. So I think the demand side will look after itself, and it'll basically bounce back pretty quickly. Supply side, unfortunately, it's probably the worst it's been in a number of years, and it's still broken. Like certain parts they're unfortunately just broken, right? It's just and we, as the industry, through UDI, through LD, through Property Council Australia, we've been trying to get in front of the politicians and telling them that if you want to hit this 80,000 houses a year in Victoria alone, you've got to do something different, because you can't do the same thing, expect a different result. Like that's insanity, right? You just can't. You can't keep repeating that. So I guess the good thing is, kudos to the government. At least they've put this target out there to say, okay, it's an aspirational target, because I can tell you now, there's no way we're hitting it. Like we fell short as an industry last year by 30,000 houses, and once again, if we don't fix things, same thing's going to happen this year. So all of a sudden, there's already a shortage from the last few years, and on top of that, you want to hit the 80,000. So I think supply side, there's key issues that we need to resolve.
How do you think they could possibly solve some of these supply issues?
Where do I start? I think for the longest time, it just takes too long to get a permit. So if I bought some land, if I'm doing a land development agreement in the past, I'll take it through an example in Sunbury. So the precinct structure plan, what's called the PSP, which rezones all the land, that gets done at the state level. That was done almost 3-4 years ago now, and we still don't have our permit in Sunbury South. And it's just not like we just don't have a permit. A lot of the developers don't have permit because there's just key issues. It's taking longer and longer. I think, and in council, they're understaffed. Everything needs to go through Melbourne Water, because literally, imagine everything in Metro Melbourne, every single planning permit has to go through Melbourne Water. Finally, I think Melbourne Water is finally turning the ship around. But to be honest, I mean, they'll be the first one to say it's been shocking dealing with them over the last 5 years. They just don't have the staff. They're unwilling to catch up with you. The end person on the other line who are working at Melbourne Water, they want to do the right thing, but it's just they've got just way too much on their plate. And we were just in an area where they just couldn't get the right staff to house internally. So that took, because imagine everything takes like that took sort of 3 to 5 years of the industry saying the same thing again and again to say, guys, what gets prices down is more supply, right? If you're going to hit now, if you're going to hit the 80,000, you need more supply. You need to allow more PSPs to get out there. So that's on the supplies. The other big one that's really stopping a lot of development is CHMP issues, so the cultural heritage issues, where once again they're under-resourced, and we're just not getting enough resources through. Like Sunbury's taking us $1.2 million down we've spent on cultural heritage, just literally just doing testing, and it's just, I don't know, man. I just feel that money, I would love to write a check to the community where you're adding value to, like, then I could sleep at night knowing, all right, we've added value to that community. There's been no
wetland or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I've created schools, or the capital that the developers are paying. They've created schools for the First Nation people, or gone into their healthcare or something. I think I reckon a lot of developers are in the same boat where they would love to work hand in hand to say, guys, let's, because the way it's currently going, it's just not working. Like there's land developers in Sunbury South. They got their what was it? One land developer got a bill for $9 million over 5 years to salvage their land. Like how do you do that? And next door to him got $17 million over 9 years. I mean, he just can't. He's just, so that's when I say the supply side is broken. And I'm not just picking. I mean, that's at the moment, that's the highest paying. That's why I'm picking him. But Melbourne Water, they're finally getting their act together. Councils, I think we just need to do things just smartly. I think the planning system is just so old. It just needs a revamp.
It's all really good to make a statement, but then actually what's behind it and how is it going to be backed up? Yeah. They're the bits that right now are not quite.
Yeah, and I think might sound like to your people listening, I'm going on a rant, but it literally, that's all we think about us developers. Because I mean, all we want is stability, just allowing us to do good project with good people. That's it. Like we're not, a lot of us just want to, that's all we want to do. We want to create good projects with good people. I think when certain things get broken like this, it just stops you from doing that. And
very, very frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I think, well, the good thing is we do have people like Linda working at UDIA. She's the new CEO there. We've got Property Council Australia. We're working with them. Sort of cohesively to say, guys, this is an issue. So I think, like we've done with Melbourne Water, we're hoping we can do the same with CHMP and all these other issues to solve it. The other big one is the government coming out and saying the PSP land, i.e. where the growth corridors are, that we want to control that to 30%. I mean, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. I mean, if you look at the last 10, 15 years, people have bought, like anywhere between 56 to 70% of new purchases are in the growth corridors. Like somebody, like a migrant or anyone coming from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan with 2 kids, number one, they can't afford an apartment in Toorak or in the sort of 5-10K radius, and they don't want to live in an apartment. Like they want land, they want that amenity. And so at a time when we at a crisis, like a housing crisis, and an affordability crisis, at a rental crisis, for the government to come out and say we will artificially only want to do 30% in the growth corridor, it just makes no sense. I think it's those kind of things where we just want they need to hear that, I guess, again and again. I mean, just on the CHMP issues, I think it was the other day, the Allen government came out and said there's no issue. Like me, Anthony, and the team was reading the article in Urban Developer, and it's like, oh my God, these guys, yeah, they either got the, I'm not sure who's that, and I guess I'm not sure who's feeding that information to them, and I guess that's our responsibility through Property Council and through UDI and LD to really showcase, and that's what we're doing in the background. Liz from our general manager, she's taken the lead on that. She's working on a white paper with Property Council as well as UDIA to showcase these CHMP issues and showcase, like you can't.
Here are case studies. Here are the challenges.
Absolutely. This is the data. You're waiting sort of 4, 5, 6 months for people to sort of to come even look at your land to even for the CHMP to do that any work because they're under resourced. So it's not like they don't want to do it. It's just they're under resourced, and so there's got to be a better way of doing it. And I think we're advocating it. I think the team is doing a good job at it. I think you just got to keep doing it because until they see as an issue, like otherwise, because if they don't see as an issue, as CHMP as an issue, they say, these developers just being
money hungry. It's a very common thing in the media to say, "Oh, yeah, look at these developers." They just,
Yeah, exactly right. All we want to do is, but to be honest, man, like all good developers want to do is good projects with good people and have a good outcome for the end purchaser. Because all this hurts the end purchaser. Because whether it's your windfall gains tax, that like in Victoria, we're probably the most taxed bloody state in all of Australia. So the windfall taxes, the development taxes that we're already paying. Like I think UDIA did a study where 48% of a new purchase of a land, let's say if you're purchasing a land that's worth 300 grand, 48% of those is made up of taxes. Like, and
$50,000 nearly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that came from all the same. So I'm not saying we don't want to pay taxes, obviously, because all your infrastructure gets built in the corridors. That's from taxes. That's from our gate that we pay. That's from the DCP. Like at Melton, we're paying $500,000 a hectare in DCP. I mean, that's all money that goes into the coffers that should be building these infrastructure. And then we're building it. It's like Monument, for example, we built that $6.5 million worth of infrastructure outside. Like at McMahon's Place, we'll probably do $20 million worth of infrastructure. So it's like we're definitely doing our fair share.
You're contributing your part.
Absolutely.
On the other side, there's going to be a little bit more.
Yeah, and then just don't see us adversaries. Like we are one of the key stakeholders if you want to hit these 80,000 a year. And if you want to bring the affordability in control, the answer is more supply. Like you can't. And it's obvious. Yeah, exactly right. And if you're going to artificially control supply through saying, "Oh, we're only going to do 3 PSPs this year," or 30% in the growth corridors, it doesn't take a genius to realise like that's going to put prices up. And so, unfortunately, the person who suffers is the end client, like who's going to be. They could have bought land at 250, 300, but they're going to pay 400
at 350.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and so on top of the construction price that they've gone obviously berserk. And so it's there. So it's hard work at the moment for the end purchaser, and we feel for them. Like it's not easy, but as I said, once there's stability, and we saw that even last year. So it would have been July, so August, September, October last year, three months where the interest rates were kept, and we saw inquiry rates went up. We made more sales in those 3 months compared to the rest of the year. So people they're waiting, man. Like they're literally just waiting at the doors to say, just tell me my future is going to be okay. Tell me I can afford to hold on to what I'm going to buy today, and that's the biggest fear. Like it's not even that they can't afford what they can buy now. It's shit. If I buy now, and if there's 2 rate rises, what does that mean for me and my family? I think that's that uncertainty because Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, like it was built on migration, right? So Melbourne's no different. So a new migrant coming out of Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, anywhere sort of in that region, and I picked that region because that's a large majority of the migrants are coming out of there, and large majority of our sales in those growth corridors are from there. Like if you put yourself in their shoes, they've come from a country like, let's say India, 1.2 billion people. Like for them, house ownership is the dream. Like that's literally the Australian dream, right? To own that 300-400 square meters now, it used to be 1/4 acre. back when we were buying. But so they will work 2 or 3 jobs to make sure they can afford it and to buy it. And for them, borrowing at 6.5%, even 7%, I would say it's cheap money, but it's compared to where they could, like in India, you could be paying 9, 10, 11% to buy a house. Wow. So for them, it's like whatever we do, we need to save up and we need to buy a house. Like that is literally their biggest. So I think we've got the health laws. I mean, they're hardworking. They'll work 2 or 3 jobs, as I said, and we just need more supply to be able to cater for them.
All right. So one of the last questions was, so you mentioned earlier on that sort of just to get started, like this is for land developers and not try to time the market. How does that kind of sit with you now that you've gone through a couple of cycles and see how things sort of operate?
Yeah, but somebody smarter than me came up with, I think it was the don't try to time the market. It's important your time in the market. So I'm not sure who came up with it, but I live by that. And whether it's my younger brothers who bought, like my youngest brother who bought his first property, whether it's him, my cousins, or anyone who asks, my mentor, as my proteges, mentees, you just got to get in, man. You just got to get in, like whatever you can afford. Like I'll give you an example. My youngest brother, he could only afford a 2-bedroom townhouse in South Morang, but he wanted to live close to where the family is, so near Village Landing, Point Cook. I said, mate, that's not a choice. You're 28, 29 at the time. You need to just get in. I think that's all. I mean, there's more to it than that, because it forces you to save. It forces you to pay your interest, and you're building wealth. Like literally, that's your first step on that wealth rung ladder, right? So because when he bought it was $420,000. It's maybe worth $500,000 now. Like you're not going to make 80, 90, $100,000. You can't. For you to save 80, 90 grand, it's going to take you maybe 10 years. Well, awesome. So in property, so I mean, he bought well because his brother's a developer, and he bought one in one of my estates. So he's lucky in that regards. But yeah, he was getting out the home builder and whatnot. So all of a sudden, you're getting a leg up. So that's all I mean. Like time in the market is important, and the same thing goes for us land developers. Just time in the market. Like at the moment, times are tough. But it will change. Like we've got 9 projects. All we're doing is we are staying in the market. We're making sure every project gets to the starting line. And then that human tsunami of hundreds of thousands of people, when they're going to buy the land, they'll come knocking. So we just got to stay in the market long enough to turn the chapter, and then we will.
You've proven it. It's 14 years on, and got nearly $1 billion worth of land in construction. That's pretty incredible. So now that we sort of got to this point, and you've got lots of years, we should have much more success. So have you thought about your legacy and in terms of what you'd like to create and what you'd like to, I suppose, leave as a Resi Ventures company?
Wow, legacy. That's always a hard one. To be honest, like I mean, I am the sort of person, as you know, I've done the Tony Robbins courses with you and walked on fire with you many years ago, and so I'm definitely I've got the sort of 5-10 year horizon there. It's pretty simple for me, man. Like I just want to keep doing good projects with good people. We've got an amazing team at Resi Ventures now. I've got an amazing partner in Anthony. I couldn't ask for a better business partner and a mentor at the same time. Like he's a financial guru. Like we just both of us sort of fit. I'm the sort of it's probably a big ass word, visionary. Like I come up with the ideas, but without him and without really the team underneath it, we wouldn't have what we have. I just want to grow that, and we're the Resi Ventures family. I think we're at the right size as well, where we can do the sort of project we want to do. So finish 1 or 2 projects, get another couple of projects. And like we don't want to be multi-billionaires. We just want to do good projects with good people, and our land development agreements. I mean, that's what we sort of known for. And all of a sudden, you're sharing that wealth with the landowner who've owned the land for 30, 40 years, and that's the most amount of money they're ever going to see. And so for you to play your part in changing that someone else's life, and for you to play a part in somebody buying in your estate and creating that wealth that they're going to create, because the amenities that you put into I don't want any more than that. But that's, one of my great people I always used to look up to was Lane Walker for many, many years. Sadly, he passed away this year. It was sad to see him go. Like he was a visionary that I was seeing he's at much higher pedestal to where we are, but he just did good projects with good people for a long, long time. And I guess that'll be the legacy. Our projects will be our living, breathing resumes. Living, breathing.
Of course, in the communities you get to nurture and create with all of the stuff that you've put in there.
Yeah, and hopefully, 10, 15, 20 years' time, if I'm walking down the street with my kids and grandkids, I still want to be proud of to say, me and Anthony and the team did this back in 2018, and look at it, it still looks beautiful, and that nothing else would make me happier.
That's amazing. Look, that sort of was all that we wanted to cover today. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time on the Land Pioneers podcast. And for the listeners, thank you for listening to the Land Pioneers podcast, where we interview some of the most prominent land developers in the industry today. So it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. And, we'd love to hear your thoughts, and remember to rate and share the podcast if you found it of interest. And please click subscribe so you're there, you don't miss an episode. Khurram, thanks so much for your time. Great to chat.
That's right. We're going to catch up in person soon.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Next time. Thanks, man.